Hello and welcome to those who are just tuning in to the Women's Biz Tribe Next Level Success Summit. It has been amazing so far. So many incredible, powerful, inspiring women have just been sharing, and you are not going to be disappointed by our next speaker. She is absolutely amazing. For those of you just tuning in, my name is Annie Gibbins, CEO of Women's Biz Tribe, and we are a global community of empowered women who help to collaborate and help each other to achieve our own unique versions of what success, balance, and happiness is. And you're certainly going to get a smorgasbord from the speakers at this summit. I am thrilled to introduce our next speaker. Her name is Jane Vandermeer. Jane is a highly intuitive, gentle, and innovative thought leader. She's always had a love of high-end fashion, and you could say it's seriously in her blood, and she is going to be able to share with us today her journey as a creative and entrepreneurial thinker. She's had 30 years in the fashion industry. She's been a designer and a tailor and a pattern maker, a quality controller, a buyer. She's done it all. She's lectured, she's owned businesses. Oh my goodness, she's also won awards for all of her work, and you are going to hear so much about her journey today. Welcome to the summit, Jane.
Thank you so much, Annie. What an introduction. I'm so touched and humbled. That's so kind. Thank you. I'm thrilled to be with you and many other extraordinary, inspiring women. It's a lovely company. Thank you.
Oh, fantastic. Well, I'm going to just disappear and let you share to our audience. We've got people coming from around the globe. And for those listening or watching in, make sure you put some chats in the chat, comment wherever you're watching it, whether it's YouTube or Facebook or LinkedIn. Definitely put your questions there to Jane. And after the live, she will then come in and be able to connect with you. Of course, you can connect with her in the tribe because you're all new members. Do not hesitate with contacting any of our speakers. So over to you, Jane.
Thank you so much, Annie. So I'm so thrilled to be here today. Thank you for having me. So where does one start after Annie's amazing introduction? So I'm lucky enough to have worked in the fashion industry forever. It has been my whole life. I started sewing at 9 and I've never stopped. I started my first business at 16 and that has continued on the theme of my life. In fashion, of course. So these days I work with female founders and women in business, and I'm lucky enough to work with women all over the world and help and give them the tools and knowledge, which then to me leads to empowerment. That's when we can walk strongly, walk confidently, and shine and share our messages with the world in our respective areas and industries and specialties. So I thought I'd talk a little bit today as an overview of partly my story, but also, what shining brightly and elevating your magnetism. So a tiny overview after Annie's lovely introduction is I'm lucky enough to have always done what I love and work in the fashion industry. So I had a couture business. High-end fabrics, fashion and styling has always been a great love, and I had that business for a long time. I realized along the way that putting clothes together and styling them and shape and color and, framing the face and all of these aspects actually isn't innate for everyone. I would work with beautiful women who are so knowledgeable in their field, but there was an underlying lack of confidence there. And so before long, I was designing courses and workshops, and because I believe it is being shown by example, and before you know it, I'm trying things on and demonstrating, because it's a visual medium, of course, isn't it? I have never believed in a one-stop shop. Or, for example, those checklists where they'll say, you must own little black dress and a white shirt and a black jacket as a core capsule wardrobe. I would tip that completely on its head. I feel that as women, we are a mix and a blend of our experiences, our stories, our ups and our downs, and our challenges, and what we fit into life. We are so multidimensional. How do you put us in a box? I don't know about you, but I don't like being put in a box. Even to describe my business, I don't really like to tick a box, because I think we are more, there is more depth and certainly more dimensions than that. So if I bring that back to shining brightly from within, so part of my story and my history is I've been lucky enough to do some extraordinary things. I did become a buyer for a long time. I never thought I'd be able to do that. I thought that dream was well beyond my opportunities or capabilities. However, in my heart, I wanted to do it. I just wanted to do it. And I've always believed that we get given little breadcrumbs of life, or listening, I call it listening to the whispers. Often we are just given a whisper. Like, we're not given 3 steps ahead. Sometimes it's just 1 step ahead. And for many, many years, when I was working 1 trillion hours a day and a week, and as that happens in, big roles where we're under a lot of pressure, and you've got to report and you've got to meet certain KPIs and all this kind of thing, it's very, very hard to listen to the whispers, because our lives are so full. They are so jam-packed. There is not space to bring it back to the whisper of reflection. We keep so busy that we block out the whispers. So if I fast forward a certain portion of time, I got pulled up. How I got pulled up was about 4 years ago. I had 2 very severe cancer scares in 2 different areas of my body. I had adrenal fatigue. I couldn't move my neck much more than about that, all down the side. That was for about a year. I couldn't move my neck, and I had severe migraines. And then I had a slip disc in my lower back. And, those things don't just happen overnight. They've been happening for a long time. But this is what when I talk about listening to the whispers were there, but we block them out and override them until we come crashing down. And again, at that point, I thought, you know what? A little rest for a couple of weeks or a week would do the trick. And of course, how little did I know. That was the doing side of me, the action woman, the being in my masculine energy, where we make things happen and we push forward and we just make plans and we just achieve, But I realized with all these things going wrong, and especially when my back went and I could not walk, I thought, okay, now is time for another opportunity. This is another way. What can I learn here? And so bit by bit by bit, what I did learn was good old boundaries. I put my phone on silent, which, I'm used to being so contactable all the time. My phone went on silent for a good 4 months screening. And, in that time of learning and slowing down and healing from 20 odd years of big careers was the opportunity. There were many opportunities there. Now, we don't have to take the opportunities, but if we don't take them, they come back harder and faster. So my opportunities there were to slow down, to instead of having a diary that was so chock-a-block full, what would happen if we'd create space? What happened was creativity flowed and opportunity flowed, and I started to heal. And of course, X amount of years later now, there's a few flow-on effects with that. The immense, the holding on, of course, slowly, bit by bit by bit, we start to let go, which is very hard as control freak. I say I'm control freak anonymous now. And that's a big one to let go of, because you feel like everything's about to fall apart. As a result of that, in that time, I created 2 businesses, which I love. And the approach within these businesses is very different. It is much more balanced. It is not the push and hustle headspace, which is, what traditional business is and where I've come from. I call it sitting in our own sense of power, and we attract because we are authentic with our message, and that is what is appealing, and that is part of what I mean when I talk about showing up as my authentic self and your authentic selves. So if I bring that back to fashion and styling, so when we look at now, our current landscape right now is this screen. It's here to stay. Even though we are running events in real life again, online is where life is, isn't it? So this is our brand. As a businesswoman, this is the representation. And I talk about congruence with who you are, what your message is, and the aesthetic. So I will come back to that one. When I talk about congruence, there is a lady that I worked with. I tend to work one-on-one mainly with women. So she's in finance. She turned up to a call, hair's in a messy bun, wet hair, no makeup, and like a sport sort of little top on. And I said, and she was asking me for my opinion, just so that you know. And I said, okay, so if we were meeting in person, would you wear this? Is this how you would present? And she said, well, no. And I said, well, all right, why are you presenting like that today then? And she said, well, does it really matter? We all know that we are not just our aesthetic. Of course, we know that. But what I said to her, though, is you're in finance, and she had this really clever twist on her business, really innovative. But I said, for me to consider changing over to you as an accountant with mine and my family's money, that doesn't instill confidence to me. And she was really shocked. And I thought, well, you're asking for the truth. This is the truth. I want to know that our family's money is in safe hands. So that is what I mean by this. This is, whether we like it or not, this is where that congruence needs to be there. Now, if she was teaching yoga, she was my yoga teacher, then it is congruent, but it wasn't with the line of business that she was in. So one of the things I often, as a result, like looking forward and conducting business in this new way, and this new way has worked really well because, like Annie said, I've won many, many, many awards, which I'm supremely, supremely proud of, both domestically and internationally, with maintaining my attract, not chase, anti-hustle way of doing business, which is more congruent with who I am. Now, what I will say is, as over the years in the fashion industry, I kept my life very compartmentalized. Fashion is here, and this gentle, intuitive, sensitive soul was here, and never the two shall meet. And I fought them coming together, and I could not work out how they would come together. One's about the aesthetic, one is about the internal and depth and wisdom and knowledge. And I fought it for many years, but I realized along the way, when I was having that time flat on my back, reflecting, because what else is there to do? You are forced to go within. So once I went within, I realized that these are both of my skills. It was time to bring them together. And even with that, I didn't really want to do it. I was very worried that one would discredit the other. And of course, bravely doing that, A, is what makes me completely unique. B, it is using the skills I've been given and practiced all these years, like 30 years of practice. And when you show up in an authentic way, even when you feel really wobbly, it resonates with the right people. The right girls say to me, I like your feel, I like your way, I get it. It's like you're talking to me. And you know, the people that aren't right for me, that want a different way, then that's fine, because there's enough work in the world for all of us. There's enough abundance for all of us. But it's like when we truly, bravely sit within ourselves strongly, we attract the right people. So as a result, I have designed, with 30 years of practical experience, I work in two ways. So one way I call Ask the Stylist, which is a one-on-one. And then the other way is I've designed a course, which is for 5 months. And we meet on Zoom. Everything's all online. But it's just you and me. Why I do it this way is self-confidence, self-worth, that doesn't just get lost in one go with one, mean comment that was made by some girl or some boy you liked or whatever. It was some comment, but it feeds or fed that part within us, that little niggly bit of belief that we have about our hips, our bottom, our tummy, our this, our that. And then someone else says something, and then a couple of years later, someone else says something. And anyway, it's feeding that story for a lot of women. So what I find is when we work together over a longer period of time, the walls come down, and I can work backwards through that and show you where all your assets are, how to work with them and really elevate them. That's the magic. So there's this image here that I'd like to show you. Obviously, this is looking at body shape, but it's the one on the right that I'd like to draw your attention to. I call this the 150% mirror. So, a normal reflection of the mirror reflects us at 100%. So whatever size or shape we are is what the mirror shows us. But for many, many women that I work with, it's like in their mind magnifies a certain area of their body they're most worried about. And so when I've worked with women who will say, I'll ask them, what are you worried about? Oh, it's my tummy. Okay. And honestly, 9 times out of 10, it's never as bad as what we think in our mind. But that is ingrained. There's a fashion designer friend of mine who I have styled, And she said to me, but don't you worry about, doesn't your eye go to my knees? And I've known her 20 years. And I said, I've never looked at your knees. I've never worried about your knees. But doesn't your eye go there? I said, okay, what I see is beautiful hair. You know how to do your makeup. You've got lovely skin here. You've got a curvy, beautiful shape, and you know how to put clothes together. And she said, but what about my knees? I said, but what about what I just said? And I thought, isn't it interesting? Like, I've just listed off genuine, sincere comments, but that her self-talk was so strong that it could only see that certain area. So my point with this is it does take a little bit of time. It's a bit like counselling. You go once, it's useful, but it's when you go a little, the regularity, that's where real change happens. Now, what I wanted to show you with a bit of colour here, well, we've still got a little bit of time. So when obviously this is a visual medium with fashion. Colour is something that really, really, really can turn back the clock so easily, and it can really change our skin. It can, now I will say, I don't judge on whatever you do or don't want to do. Like, if you want to go grey or you want to go the other way and use lots of Botox, like, it's up to you. There is no judgment either way. What I am about, though, is working with what you've got and elevating and finessing what you've got. So when I look at Dame Judi Dench, who I just think is wonderful, on the left photo and the middle one, she's in different roles. She's on stage. But why I picked these two images are, on the left, she's got blonde hair, but it's a really golden yellowy blonde, and she's wearing this sort of khaki and then the ruffle around her neck. Now, why I wanted to show you this is I'm very aware there you can't see her eyes. See how all the colour, the yellow hues there, are throwing a really, really yellowy look to her skin, and you can't see these beautiful blue eyes that she has, and her skin looks odd in my eyes. With the middle image where she's got red hair here and she's got all these sort of, it's like a yellow and grey printed top on. Again, I know she's in a role, but she looks a lot older. I don't think the red works for her, and I can't, like, her skin tone looks mottled and really a little bit strange. On the right, she's actually got her natural grey hair, or almost white. But what I want to draw attention to is her beautiful, all these colours on the right all work congruently with her skin tone, because I'm always looking at hair, eyes, skin, and then, of course, what you're wearing, particularly closest to your face. And what my eyes go to is the intensity of colour, the depth, the richness, the clarity and tone. So there's a few elements there that I would look for and guide you with. So to me, on the right, she looks $1 million, just the beauty that she is. There's also, I will come back to her, but I wanted to show you with Reese Witherspoon. Now, I had to search high and low to find photos of her that were less flattering, because she's such a beauty. The one on the left, I wanted to show you. So to me, that makeup looks a bit like a costume. It's too strong for her delicate colourings, and yeah, it just looks painted. The middle one, where she's got a block of dark hair, to me, she looks really pale and lost and has sort of faded. And on the right, where we've got more blonde highlights, not a block colour. Some tones look better in that way. And then softer makeup. I see these beautiful blue eyes. Her skin looks translucent as it is, and beautiful, and really shines brightly. The same goes to show with clothing and shape, fashion. Again, I'm looking for harmony. I'm looking that it is reflective of who you are as a woman, in your power, in your story, not making you look like that we're all looking the same. What I teach you is I help you create your own unique blueprint that is representational of all the elements of who you are, because obviously it's going to be very different to who I am, which of course is the key word, confidence. So last slide is, this is me on one of my most recent photo shoots, which I must admit I love. And if any of this is of interest to you, or you'd like to chat further, as I said, I work in two different ways. One's called Ask the Stylist, and if you want a more immersive course, there's Elevate Me. And there's also a little button on the front page of my website, which is just connect. So if you'd like to connect with me and you're not sure, or you'd like to have a little chat and see whether we're suited or whether we are on the same page, feel free to do that. I'd love to hear from you. And if you've got questions in the chat box, feel free to pop them in there and I'll do my best to answer all of them. And like I said, if there's longer specific answers, I'm more than happy to chat with you. Thanks for sitting through this today. But most of all, thank you so much to Annie. It is a delight to be aligned with Annie. Annie is such an inspiration, and we are working together in a few different ways, and I'm a huge cheerleader of her and her effervescence and message with women globally.
Oh, thank you so much, Jane. That is so kind of you, and I loved your presentation. Do you know what I hear as you speak, though, is that you are totally sold out for the individual woman. You know, when I've got a breadth of speakers globally, and some of them are about growing their businesses, scaling their businesses, and you're all about that. You're an incredibly successful businesswoman, but ultimately you started shining in your communication and your language and the way you're sharing when you're going, and when you actually get to work one-on-one with someone. I just love that feeling, because that's the real deal, right? Because you actually know how valuable that is. So that was really key to me. I also just find it amazing, breathtaking, stunning, but so real, that I love the way you sort of say these minor irritations or annoyances, such as cancer scares and major health burnout and all these other things that can just happen to you, and you go, yeah, why do we wait till everything comes falling down before we actually notice? And I think that's a common theme through this summit, that come on, ladies, we've got to start listening to our bodies, listening to ourselves where we're at, taking that pause to reflect on ourselves holistically, and then obviously the application in your area of styling people. I also love the way you don't approach it as going, well, basically women need to wear this sort of look or be in this kind of fashion or this or that. For you, you're a true artist that actually looks at, well, what suits that woman, you know, that woman bring out the essence of her. So you're not actually saying, hey, just suit up and pretend to be someone else. You're actually saying, hey, ladies, I help you show up as you actually are, in the best version of yourself. And I've seen that in the work that you do, and I can hear it in the language that you share with. And so those of you listening in around the world, you know, that's right, Jane's very easy to find. Go to her website, which is scrolling on the screen. She mentioned the word finesse in her presentation today, and that is obviously for a reason. She's all about making you feel comfortable in your own skin. So reach out via her website, reach out via the tribe. Everyone coming to this summit is now a member of the tribe. So you'll find Jane just there. Just pop in a little hello and make yourself known to her if this is an area that you've struggled with, just showing up as yourselves. And and definitely pop some more things in the chat. Reach out to Jane via that way. I'm sure she would love to answer your questions. So thank you so much, Jane Vandermeer. Absolutely amazing, as I expected. Thank you for sharing your wisdom with us today.
Thank you, Annie.